Hello, everybody, and welcome back to GameStack Podcast, right here on We Just Love Games Network. This is episode 137, the 6th annual Stack Awards. I'm your co-host, Vendertron, and joining me this evening is the lovely Shalene. Hello, Shalene. Oh, you're muted, dear.
Hi.
Wow.
We're going to get this eventually. And also we have Rick joining us, back by popular demand.
Hello.
How are you doing, Rick?
Hi. I'm doing fantastic now that I put someone in our chat on timeout. Take that, coworker.
And we have a very special guest joining us back on the show once again, Jessica Starr, aka Sleep is for Tea. Hello, Jess. Welcome to the show once again.
Hey, Vendor, Shalene, Rick, happy to join you all on this auspicious occasion.
Oh my gosh. Well,
Auspicious
first of all,
occasions.
I want to quickly apologize for the late start of the show. We had to shake out all the cobwebs because, I think when was the last show that we did, Shalene? It was like December.
It's been 84 years.
I could still smell the fresh paint. How are you all doing? I've missed you guys. Happy New Year, by the way.
Yeah.
It's been a couple months, Vendor. A couple months have passed. Weeks have passed. I can't even. I'm not even sure where to start.
I mean, it looks
don't
like
live in the
there's
same place
right.
anymore.
You're in a
Yeah.
different room. What is this?
I'm in a different room. I have moved. I have started a new job. It's great. They're not mean to me. Yes. Love that. I live in this apartment now. Also with Archon. Archon is here. I don't think he'll be willing to say hello. Nope, he's throwing a thumbs up.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's another change. And
How are you liking your job, your new job?
It's great. It's going so well. It's going so well. But let me tell you a story, Vendor. Let me tell you a story.
Okay.
So I'm moving into my new apartment, right? And So I'm moving in and I bring the essentials. I bring some clothes and I bring some toiletries and some makeup, and I bring my gaming PC. So I'm gonna have everything I need, right?
No. Oh no.
So I have a half a flight of stairs. It's probably not even a half flight of stairs, like a third of a flight of stairs.
No.
It's like
And
6
step.
stairs.
I know where this is going.
And I am carrying the PC tower into my apartment. It's the last thing that I have to get into the apartment. And I take a step carefully down the stairs, very carefully.
Because you're carrying
down
your
the concrete stairs.
Mm-hmm.
I'm carrying my
They might as well have been
PC
jagged
tower.
rocks.
And I don't even know what happened. But shortly thereafter, after taking that first step, I was lying on the ground surrounded by broken glass,
Oh no.
wondering to myself, like, okay, am I alive? Do I need the hospital?
Jeez. So you fell down your apartment concrete stairs with your PC. And it shattered into a million pieces.
Yes. And I was bleeding from multiple locations. It was not great. I didn't know what to do. So I determined that I did not need to go to the hospital, and I picked myself up and dragged that PC case into my little apartment and cleaned the blood off and stuff. And I was okay. I was just banged up. So a week later, Archon shows up, right? Like
he just
the
showed
plan
up.
He just showed up. I was like, hey, he's like, hey,
okay,
it's Archon.
come in, I
I'm
guess.
Okay, I guess we live here now. And he cleaned the glass out of the computer, and it still runs remarkably.
Nice.
So,
Beautiful.
I ordered a new glass panel, and that came in yesterday, and he put it on, and I'm thrilled that my baby is okay.
See that, and you've got solid state drives, right?
I do, yeah. I have
you're
two
good. It's
solid
fine.
state drives.
You
So
drive
that was
over
an
those with a truck,
adventure,
and
you
you'll
guys.
Doesn't it?
It was a whole adventure. I
But
threw my
doesn't it
PC
blue
down the
screen?
stairs with myself. Well, it was doing that before.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's been doing that for
Oh.
years, if you'll recall.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm
Yeah.
glad you're in a new job and a new place, getting used to being in the big city.
Yes.
And Jess, how are you doing?
Well, it's been pretty great actually. Yeah, it's been a pretty great week.
What's new with
Actually,
you? We haven't talked to you for quite some time now.
well, what's new since last time I was on the show? It was October, I think. Just a
Yeah.
really great holiday season. We did Fall Out for Hope again. That was kind of the big push besides the holidays in general. A lot of great shows and stuff for fundraising there. Another successful year. This was our third year. So yeah, that went quite well. And then, Christmas happened. Huge blizzard, completely
Right.
here in Buffalo, where I am. We were buried. We had I was only about 4 feet of snow, but there are places in the city that got 6 feet.
Only
I
4
know.
feet.
And
Only 4 feet.
by way of comparison.
Yeah.
But yeah, and now, we're in January. We're in that time of year where it's so dark and you're huddled in and like it's wonderful. So I've been going full goblin mode. Like I've been spending a lot of time on the couch under blankets with a big old mug of something and a pug on my lap, being like, I'm just playing my games, I'm
Sounds
watching my
really
Netflix.
nice.
Oh, it's wonderful. And it's the one time of year when you absolutely have that excuse. You know what I mean? Because it's dark anyway.
Yeah.
Why leave the house?
So are you drinking like mugs of mulled cider? I feel like that's what you should be drinking if there's 6 feet of snow.
Yes. No, I actually did make a lot of hot cider, especially
Yes.
during that storm. Well, coffee, cocoa, all the good stuff. Actually, tonight, though, by the way, we haven't talked about our appearances yet and our beautiful outfits, but I am going to pour a nice glass of a sparkling Red Bull just for the occasion. So
Yes.
cheers, y'all.
Ooh.
I have sparkling kombucha
Oh,
Just-
lovely.
because alcohol is no longer
Sparkling
part of
white
my
tea
life,
with
unfortunately.
pomegranate from Trader Joe's.
Look at us
Uh,
sparkle. And how about you, Rick?
Yes.
I
I
got
have
to
an
go to
Aku
Trader
Aku.
Joe's. That was fun.
Um, and
Cheers
also,
to the
More
Stack
options
Awards.
here. It's
yes,
I guess I'm
amazing.
the
cheers
only one
to the-
imbibing.
cheers to the Stack Awards. Clink, clink. Also, Rick, you're in a new room. What's going on, buddy? Are you in jail or like?
Gosh, this is not U.S. jail. This is like Switzerland jail level.
There's paint.
Yeah, and blinds. No, I've moved too. We moved out of the town that we were in to a really nice little area full of woods and things, and it's nice.
The
and it's closer
pictures
to work.
are awesome. The pictures that you sent. Your
Yeah,
yard is
we-
huge. I'm so
It is,
jealous.
It is. We got really lucky. We got really lucky with this house, and but yeah. So I'm currently just sitting in the kitchen, which is the whole first floor is completely open, so there's no walls. So the kitchen is also the dining room, is also the gaming room. But I was just thinking, it's funny. I don't have a couch anymore because we left all the old furniture at the old place, and we're just like, it stays here.
Are you starting new? With
We
your
are,
furniture and
yeah, we
stuff?
are,
Yeah.
because like I mean, it's our forever home, so we're gonna make sure that everything is the way we want it to be, rather than like when we bought stuff from for the old house, it was like,
Yeah.
this place is temporary, so
Yeah.
Yeah, it
we'll
was
move
like
someday.
this will
but-
do for now.
Yeah,
So
and
you,
like plus,
you get a canoe and a duck and a lawn chair, and then you're good.
a canoe,
That's
duck,
a
and
Friends
lawn chair.
reference
So
for
you
anybody
never
who
really watched that.
straight over the
But-
tiara.
But the other thing too is our couch is like, I mean, it was like I don't know how it was old, and we made the mistake of when we were couch shopping 11, 10, 12 years ago, that we got one that was like also comfy, not thinking about as we broke it in, it would become more comfy. So now when you sit in it, you're like,
Mm-hmm.
so it's kind of worn out. But yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
it's been a crazy. I can't believe it's the end of January already.
I know. We don't talk about it. It's the holidays came and left, and suddenly it's a new year. I don't know. Doesn't feel very new though.
Foxid says I look like the riffraff that was not invited to the work show. First of
Mhm.
all,
Mhm.
I'll have you know the Claire logo here. I'm clearly road staff in the technical department of this place. So while these three are the hosts, I'm just kind of
That's
the
why we
background
had
voice.
so many audio issues, by the
I
way.
was just about to make that joke.
they only hire the best.
I mean, yeah. The funny part is that you didn't even help with any of that issue.
No,
You didn't
I
lift a
do this
finger.
all
You're like,
day. It's
I'm
your
not
turn
getting
now,
paid for
man."
this right now, so sort it out yourself.
He
Pretty
knew
much.
he didn't need to. He knew you had it in hand, Vendor. Actually, I feel
Well-
like Rick looks more like the lucky radio call-in guest that managed to get tickets to come on the
Yeah.
illustrious Stack Awards
Nobody
tonight.
sent him the memo about the dress code, but
Just don't make me go put on a dress.
well, I mean,
But you did
yes.
that last year.
Yeah.
Was that last? I thought that was
Yeah,
That
you
was
set
last
the
year.
you
wore
set the bar.
dress.
You set the bar really high there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
That is the reason.
So I tell you, if I could have figured out how to do it easier, I was gonna set up a camera like facing my kitchen, right? And in the middle of like some part of the show, I was just gonna start ranting about how to make a mixed drink and perform to make it with like a cooking show. But I just couldn't figure out how to get the logistics set up correctly.
You should
but-
totally do that. Set up different cameras and then have like a cooking stream. That'd be amazing.
No, gosh, no. I was just gonna do it as a gag.
Tonight we're making hot
Yeah.
sauce. Yeah.
Hot sauce.
Yeah, it's nice to be back in Canada. I was in California for a month over the holiday break, which was wet. We got lots of rain, but it was better than lots of snow. So that was nice. And then I finished my candidacy exam for my PhD. So passed with
Good.
Congratulations.
with
Cheers to
condi-
that too.
conditional pass, but
Ah.
still a pass.
A
So
pass is a pass, my friend.
yeah, so feels good. I've been taking the week off this week to just sort of like process and recoup and, mull over everything. It's a big deal. I didn't realize, but I'm actually kind of like going through stages of grief right now, even though I passed. So
What? Because you're done?
no, I'm not done. No,
Oh.
I've now been given permission to finish. So now I can continue and actually finish and defend
None of this makes
in like
sense.
a year and a half. So a candidacy exam is where you defend your proposed research. And it was intense. I was up against a panel of 6 examiners. It was a 25-minute public oral presentation followed by 3 to 4 hours of oral examination. And it was terrible.
After that much oral, it should have been a.
I know, right? You
pass,
think I'd be
you know?
coming out of the back end of that feeling a lot better, but it was awful. It was traumatic, and yeah. Anyways, I'm here with you fine people. It is the 6th annual Stack Awards. It's nice to catch up with all of you. We do have a wonderful show. Before we begin, I would like to mention that GameStack Podcast is sponsored by Oak and Crow Coffee. If you head on over to oakandcrow.com, well, they haven't told us otherwise, so if you head on over to oakandcrow.com, you can pick up a bag of We Just Love Coffee blend, and $2 from every bag goes to the Children's Miracle Network. Don't forget, tell your friends about the show, share the podcast. We're on various podcast platforms and mediums, Spotify, Apple, iTunes, YouTube. We record live every Friday at 6:30 p.m. Mountain Standard, 8:30 Eastern Standard Time, right here on twitch.tv/WeJustLoveGames. We love that you are all here with us in the chat live. If you are missing the live recording, don't worry. You're going to catch this after when Shalene uploads it to all the various platforms. And if you want to get more involved with the community, how can people do that, Shalene?
You can do that by joining our Discord, just like Ander95 did. Ander95 joined our Discord by going to our Twitch page, twitch.tv/WeJustLoveGames, and clicking the link to join the Discord. That link is live, whether or not the show is. You can just click that anytime. Alternately, send us a message on social media, and we'll get you the invite link.
Nice.
And yeah, the Discord has actually been really lively. It's nice to see what everybody has been up to over the holidays, posting their Christmas dinner pictures and presents and New Year's stuff. We don't have the standard show format that we usually follow. This evening, we're going to be focusing just on the Stack Awards, which is our show's annual awards ceremony that honors the achievements in the video game industry. We established this award show 6 years ago. Can you believe that? 6 years ago? What? We've been doing this for
Wow.
6 years?
That's insane.
We still have to, we have a backlog of tiny trophies that we have to send out to all of the past recipients retroactively. Yes. And Yeah, the Stack Awards is really about just recapping our year, talking about the games that we've played, the new games that have come out and had a significant impact on us and on the community, our own perspectives on that, but also to gawk a little bit at the Game Awards, I think, and talk about, games that actually won real awards.
What are you talking about?
The process usually goes as follows. We have a series of different categories that we have hand selected based on our personal interests, and we each go through and we nominate our own choice for a specific game within a specific category. Now, the hosts on the show and our guests on the show, nobody knows what the nominations are until we reveal them to the group, and then we just go through and we talk about why we think those games are the ones that should win the award, and then we sort of deliberate and decide on which game in each category should win the award, and sometimes it gets a little bit interesting. So, without further ado, let's start the Stack Awards. I don't. How should we start this, Shalene? Do you wanna announce the categories and we can go through, or?
Sure. Well, let's just go one at a time.
Okay, so our first category to kick things off is best narrative, and Shalene, what's your nomination for best narrative?
I can't find my Google Doc. Here they are. Here they are. My nomination for best narrative is God of War Ragnarok.
Did you play it?
Did you play it?
I didn't finish it.
Oh, well, at least you started. I mean, like, that's
Okay,
something.
okay, and why do you think that's the best?
Well, it's a really well told story. It's all the same reasons that I nominated the 2018 one when it was 2018 Stack Awards.
Grumpy Dad Simulator hits the right spot,
Can you tell
huh?
that it's been a minute since I've done a podcast? I
I'm
don't
gonna-
remember how to talk about
I'm gonna
things.
also tack my nomination onto God of War with Shalene. I think that it actually really is the best narrative. And I actually haven't played God of War, so I don't know if I'm necessarily biased. I don't think that I would be. But I have watched people play it on Twitch, and I really think that the narrative is spot on. Yeah. What about you, Jess? What's your nomination?
Well, let me preface this. This is the first category. I was saying for a lot of them, I have a nomination. I also did like honorable mention just so I have it back up in case one of you pick mine. And and I want to waffle a little. I usually play a lot of games. That's what we all do. But I think that there are going to be a lot of past year nominations. Is that possible that we're going to get some old games in here? Is it mostly games for 2022?
I mean, we try to keep it to this year.
Okay,
Yeah,
we'll try to
it
keep
is
it
the
current.
2022 Stack Awards if you can, but
We also have categories that are for past games.
Yes, we do.
Because
Beautiful.
we don't really play new games. We have
We're also
that's
not
why it's
really
called the
known for
Stack
being
Awards,
sticklers
right?
For rules, though.
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
The rules seem to change a little bit most years. That's why I
Yes.
asked. Actually, it's not that the rules change, it's that how far you can bend the rules changes. Some years you bend them a
Absolutely.
lot, and others a little. So I tried to keep it mostly current, but I was looking at my list. I played like 35 to 40 games last year. Over half of them were from not this year.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's so a lot of older games. And I mean, that's just kind of how it is. So my nomination for best narrative is Citizen Sleeper.
Okay.
Sleeper. One of my
Okay.
favorite games from this past year. It's a really fantastic narrative RPG. So it's got aspects of a visual novel, the way it's laid out. Essentially, the challenges in game, you build your character over time, and challenges are decided by dice rolls. But where you spend your dice rolls, your successes and your failures against certain things in the narrative, really changes the way it goes. So it looks like a visual novel from the outside at times. I don't know. Do you guys know the plot to this game at all?
No.
Not
Not
at all.
quite, no.
I've never
Okay,
heard
so
of this.
it is a narrative RPG that takes place kind of on a space station. You are a sleeper. A sleeper is essentially an android body, a construct inhabited by a human consciousness, where the human themselves has gone to sleep and allowed their consciousness to be uploaded into the body of a sleeper, an android. And they can then do grunt work, the whole classic, out in the mines and working on asteroids and that sort of stuff. But it's not always what they signed up for. And so this sleeper, citizen sleeper, escapes with a number of others, and he's one of the only to survive and make it to this kind of. It's a, what shall we say? The space station is not within the purview of like the mostly colonized areas, the frontier of space, the edge of space. It's a bit, Babylon 5. It's a little bit outside of everybody else's jurisdiction. And so you're there and you're a person who doesn't really have rights. So you meet people, you make yourself useful, you determine who you are and what you do in relation to the story, and the story unfolds around you. It also feels kind of like The Expanse in a way. It's like that level of technology, a little bit forward, but still grounded in reality. Um, Big fan of this game, great narrative. So that is my nomination.
I see
Wonderful.
they've stolen the GameStack color scheme.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's funny how they
They
do that,
are
hey?
very pinkish red. Well, just because they knew. They knew that they'd come up.
Jeez.
That's why they were trying to butter us up for the Stack Awards.
What about you, Rick? What's your nomination?
Elden Ring.
Really?
I
You and the
think-
Game Awards.
I think I see.
Narrative.
I think I see where this is going, Shalene.
I've played, one game that released this year. I'm not gonna say which one. No, Elden Ring has no narrative.
If you were to select a game based on narrative, what would you choose?
Oh, man, it'd be tough. Like, okay, based off of the previous games that I've played, it would have to be between Forbidden West, and Ragnarok. But I mean, I don't know. I let's just say Horizon Forbidden West. 'Cause
Yes. Keep it
I like this-
spicy.
I like the story of the first one, so I can't imagine the second one being that bad.
Yeah.
But I have not played it at all. Disclaimer.
Mm-hmm.
Horizon Forbidden West is on my list, but I've gotta finish Zero Dawn first.
Mm.
I'm still working through that.
I just finished Zero Dawn.
Oh, you
It was good.
did? Did you? There's a new one coming.
That's Forbidden West.
It's
It's a VR one, isn't it?
no, it's coming out on PlayStation first, of course, but it's called it's like Search for the Mountains or something. Horizon.
Really? They
Yeah.
It just released Forbidden West, so
Isn't it more like expansion? Like an expansion
Maybe.
DLC, like
Might be.
maybe standalone one in that nature, but shorter.
Interesting.
What's it called? Call of the Mountain. Yeah. Call of the Mountain.
Okay.
It's an expansion. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
Okay, what do we want to do? So, Shalene, God of War, myself, God of War. We've got Citizen Sleeper and Horizon.
Verizon.
Verizon, Forbidden Bills. Oh my gosh, can anyone afford them?
I think
not sponsored.
Ragnarok wins, I guess, out of majority vote because that's how things are here.
Sure.
It's a vote.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
Like water, take the easiest route. Yeah.
Yes,
Mhm.
absolutely.
Okay, our next category up is Best Art. Shalene?
I'm sorry. Okay.
I'm not
My
going to start with you
nominee-
next time.
That would be better if you didn't. Yeah, because I was trying to mark our winner. I'm trying to keep track. of it.
right. Got you.
My nominee for best art is Stray.
Okay,
I
really?
loved the art style of Stray. I loved the environment art of Stray. I loved the incidental things that you find in the world. I thought I loved the direction that they took the characters. I mean, look at that. Look at that cyberpunk city.
Mhm.
It's brilliant.
It's so brilliant.
It was so good. It was so good. Look at that little kitty.
We're 2 for 2 because my nomination for Best Art is also Stray.
Really?
Yes.
Mine is too.
And
When we get there.
my choice for that is I love a good Tokyo like art style open worlds. I was hoping that Ghost of Sashimi would be that, but
And
what
this
about
was
what about
really
you,
well
Rick?
done.
What's your nomination?
For serious, Elden Ring. It's such an original looking landscape and world with enemies that are just so absurd. And at times it's beautiful and horrific all at the same
Mhm.
time. I mean, it's like nothing I've ever seen in a video game. And unfortunately, Stray looks like a lot of different games, only you're a cat. So I don't know. I'm surprised that all three of you picked Stray. Yeah, Elden Ring is, I've been playing it recently, and it is like it's incredible. It's incredible what they did with that world and how a bit of MC Escher, a bit of Harmonious Bosch, and a bit of all these other sort of oddball
Hmm.
um, painters from yesteryear that just like make absurd paintings, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, that's an enemy that makes no sense to fight. And
I will
I
admit,
wouldn't
I
have
will
thought
admit
about
that
it,
I.
but you're right. There is a huge Bosch influence
oh my
on
gosh, yes,
the
yeah.
visuals of Elden Ring.
Hmm.
I
Um,
can
It's like,
definitely see that.
yeah. I mean, I it's one of the most unique looking games in a very long time, I think, as far as the art direction. Not so much the realism, obviously that's been done before, but the way that they do their like there's these enemies that have these giant horns, and they're like, they look like kind of like half man, half cattle kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized the other day, because one fell a certain way, that they had little faces. They didn't have like cow heads. The horns were on these little faces, and I was like, I didn't even notice that before, and it was just interesting to notice that
Right.
little bit of detail. But
hmm, hmm.
um, but yeah, it's yeah, yeah. I have to pick Elden Ring because it's one of the coolest.
I admit I did have Elden Ring down.
Yeah.
And when I was trying to decide on best art,
Ooh,
I was looking through all
look
of
at
the
that.
different
Oh, so
gameplay
pretty.
for
Mm-hmm.
for all of the games that I had listed, and Stray, God of War, Elden Ring, and Horizon were the four that I had
Yeah,
listed, and
it's
I
certainly
decided on
gothic,
Stray.
and it's a particular type, and I can see why it's not like everybody's particular favorite, but it is definitely,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I love this game.
Elden Ring is gorgeous. So,
Mm,
interestingly, it wasn't even on my list, but I've seen a lot of screenshots. I love the design of the landscape. The open world design is amazing, and I think it'll get its due there. But
Mm-hmm.
for mine, I did have Stray, and then in parentheses, I
yeah.
wrote Plague Tale and Cult of the
Oh,
Lamb were kind of my
Ah,
runners
Mm.
ups. I loved
I get
Cult
Plague
of the
Tale.
Lamb, really fun style, and Plague Tale just gorgeous. If it wasn't about rats, I probably would have gotten the nod. But there's
it's a
something
hard
about
one.
ratnadoes that just aren't that cunning. No, no,
Yeah,
just not that
yeah,
great.
it's a hard one to get through. Okay,
I
I
real quick, I just want to say that like the actual Game Awards like nomination was Scorn, and I don't really understand how that's a thing
yeah, but the
Wasn't that
Game
the
Awards
Geiger
is
game?
rigged, right? Like so,
Yeah.
yeah.
because once you've seen one part of the of anything of that game, you've seen the rest.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing. It's like
Yeah.
Doom 3D for the in 1998, but like on a high definition 3D scale in the sense of it's just repeated textures.
Okay, well, I think it's safe to say by majority vote, Stray wins Best Art for the
Yeah.
2022 Stack Awards. Our
It's
next,
beautiful. I just have to say, Vendor, didn't get my chance to say my due, but what you're talking about, the Asian influence and cyberpunk feel together, the
yes,
way that it fades into the backdrop, the depth of field in that game. Yes, you're a cat, but the stuff going on in the city around you, all the colors, the way you interact with it, the way the cat moves, and I know movement isn't necessarily part of art, but it's very elegant
Yeah.
in the same way that Elden Ring creatures may be. And yeah, there's just a lot more to the aesthetic than just a cat in a. I haven't seen many games that look like that, in my opinion.
well, and the other thing too is that they're able to capture the art style almost as if it's from the perspective of that little feline friend.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of times when you play games from the perspective of an animal, you still get that perspective of being a human character rather than the actual animal. So I think they captured that well. But
Hmm,
yeah. Anyways,
interesting.
um, our next category is best soundtrack. And this category recognizes games for their outstanding music and inclusive score or licensed soundtrack specifically. And so let's start off with you, Jess. What was your nomination?
Okay, for best soundtrack, I wrote down Vampire Survivors.
Oh,
It has it evokes the era of what it's trying to do. People who don't know, Vampire Survivors is a bit of a bullet hell, also roguelike kind of mixed in, and it has a vampire aesthetic. Some tracks a lot of different styles of Castlevania, to be honest, but other games from the 8-bit and 16-bit era. And yeah, I love the music. I had one or two else, that I'm thinking of that one of you might pick, but Vampire Survivors is my choice.
I've heard a lot of good things about that game. Like it was like a
Me
sleeper,
too.
where like people
Mhm.
were just like jokingly playing it, and they're like, "This game is so cool."
I've
It's
heard only good things.
so addictive. It is, you can tell it was designed by someone who's worked on casino games because, yeah, it is serotonin, the game, plus, vampires.
And you've done a complete playthrough of Vampire Survivors?
If there is such a thing, it's the kind of game that keeps unfolding as you go through. I've put a good 30 hours into it,
Oh,
but
okay.
because it's a
Roguelikes
roguelike, you can keep playing.
Don't really
Yep.
end.
okay.
Yeah, they just keep going. Because I started playing Risk of Rain like months ago
Mhm.
with a coworker, and it's the same kind of concept. You just keep running the same sort of levels and dungeons over and over, and you just keep getting
Yeah.
new things. But okay,
What about you, Rick? Elden Ring?
Elden Ring. No, actually, I haven't really been impressed with Elden Ring's score. I mean, it's good, but it's not like Skyrim or Fallout good.
I have
No,
to admit, I
it's no
did give it
Sure.
like a good listen to. Like all of the,
It is
I had
good.
all these games listed for best soundtrack, and I went through on Spotify, and I was listening to it while I was working, and I'm like, no, because I thought it was gonna be like Skyrim good,
No.
and it
It's a bit
didn't
more
even come
creepy.
close.
No.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It is good, but it's not memorable, right? Like I'm trying to remember
Yes.
anything that I've heard from it, and nothing's coming to me. Um, I don't really have one though, because I mean, this is something you have to experience in order to.
So you're abstaining,
I'm abstaining.
and Shalene, what about you?
Okay, I think there is a very solid argument for God of War Ragnarok. I think that is a really stupendous soundtrack by Bear McCreary, but it's not my nomination. My nomination is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Shredder's Revenge.
You're
Okay.
adorable. Get out.
There you go.
It's good.
It was so good. It was just such like nostalgia injected directly into my veins, and I was bopping along to the music, fighting the Foot Clan, and it was amazing. And the soundtrack of that game is the only soundtrack this year that made an impression on me.
Okay. Maybe I'm a little bit partial to Nords, but God of War Ragnarok was also my choice for best soundtrack. It's awesome. And it's applicable to everything. Are you driving to Walmart? Listen to God of War. It's awesome. It gets you through the parking lot. Are you playing Deep Rock Galactic and you got to kill Spideys? Listen to God of War soundtrack. It's fantastic. Reeves' Lament, probably the best track on that whole soundtrack. Listen to it. Give it a go. You're going to love it. So, anyways.
There you go. Is everybody happy now? I have my
So
crown.
by majority, God of War takes the bacon for best soundtrack. I think yes,
How is that majority?
because we both chose God of War, didn't we?
I chose Shredder's Revenge.
Oh right, Ninja Turtles. Sorry.
Yeah.
So
See
we
how I
have-
just kind of like.
I love
didn't
how you
accept
did that, though.
Didn't accept
You
that.
thought you'd be slick, and it worked pretty well. I really love where Shalene's coming from on this. Same kind of retro vibe. I enjoyed the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles soundtrack as well, but I haven't listened to Ragnarok yet, so that is hard to say. I've hardly heard anything, just from the ads.
Yeah, it's hard.
Rick, you're muted.
You kind of always expect
I'm
AAA
talking
games to
my
be.
child who was at the other
Oh,
end of the
sorry.
table.
What's in your hair? Oh, it's a
I
pen.
said I have my crown.
It's a purple crayon. That counts. Yeah, that counts. Okay, our next category is
We didn't pick a
oh,
we didn't
right.
pick one. Thunder. Rick,
what
do you have a vote?
what are we gonna choose?
No, I don't have a vote.
Yeah, because you abstained, why don't
know.
you choose? You choose, Rick.
I've been dealing with my child jumping in front of me. I don't even know where we are in the conversation.
In the name
Sorry.
of dads dealing with their children, maybe it should go to Ragnarok.
Ragnarok, there we go.
Okay.
Okay. Our next category is
This child is going to be the death of
best
me.
audio design. And this category looks at recognizing the best in-game audio and sound design in video games, different from soundtracks. And Jess, once again, let's start with you. What are your thoughts?
So sound design or audio is definitely different than soundtrack in a lot of ways. I mean, sometimes, the sound bed, and when they release the full soundtrack, you get some of that in there. But it's a combination of the sound bed and the different sounds creatures and the environment makes. And so for this one, I went with Elden Ring. The sound design in Elden Ring is fantastic. You've got this open world. You're always on edge. You're learning a lot. You're discovering the world. But you don't just locate things from the beautiful visuals, but also from the sound. So that's my choice.
Okay.
I concur. I mean, even to the Scarab Beetles type, which is just
Yes.
like the diff between health, the FP, or the Ash of War ones. There's a different sound between them, along with the type of enemy. The way that the weapons sound as you move and do things.
Yep,
It's,
yep.
It's great. It's a great sound design they did with that.
And what about you, Shalene?
I also chose Elden Ring.
Nice.
Wow. Okay. Do you care to elaborate on that?
Well, I mean, they already said all the reasons why.
Oh, same reasons? Okay.
Yes.
All right, so I'm the odd man out here, and I'm going to say that my nomination for best audio design was Stray. And my choice on that is based on the fact that if you really listen as the character or the cat is going through the world, there's certain sounds that are more noticeable than others, and I think that that's purpose. It's on purpose,
Right.
and it sort of mimics what a cat would experience. And so I think that there's a lot of psychology actually that went into how they designed the audio within Stray to make it as immersive as possible. But so by majority rule, Elden Ring wins the award for best audio design. Yay!
As it should.
Congratulations. Are we going to add claps in post during the editing vendor and maybe some snippets of songs from the
Editing?
soundtrack category?
I mean,
GameStack?
I have
That's
claps
funny.
here. If
Oh, beautiful.
thank you.
Yeah, we try to avoid editing at all costs here, Jess. We don't do that here.
Yeah. Okay, our next category is best acting. Now, is this the same as best performance, Shalene?
Yeah.
Is that what we're talking about? Okay, so this category specifically looks at individuals for voiceover acting
No,
or
not individuals
Right.
for the game.
okay. So
The best
in-game
acting
character.
in the game overall.
Okay.
Not just one specific performer.
Yeah, we should. Okay. So who wants? Jess, do you want to start? What do you think is?
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I'll start again on this. So I had two written down, and I'm going to have to just pick one on the fly now. I was going to go with the one that you didn't take. So we are going with Immortality. Immortality,
Excellent choice.
a fantastic game. Once again, it's one of those kind of you're reviewing footage, you're seeing different clippets and snips and putting a story together, and the acting is what sells it. The acting and how you feel about it and what you interpret is a lot of the gameplay. So yeah, Immortality for best performance.
Immortality. Okay.
That's a great choice. I can't wait to play that game. That's a Sam Barlow joint, I believe.
Mhm.
I don't know if
Yeah,
I've
it
ever
is.
played that.
Have you played Telling Lies or?
No. I have
Telling
not.
Lies was so good. So good.
My nomination for best acting, Plague Tale, Requiem. Yeah. I've only watched gameplay. I haven't played through it, but it's phenomenal. And I mean, that was a past nomination for me with the original Plague Tale. So highly recommend.
Right.
What about you, Shalene?
My nomination goes to God of War Ragnarok. I think that specifically Christopher Judge's performance as Kratos is just incredible. I think it's masterful. I'm brought to a standstill by the acting in this game. It's so good. So good. I fully buy in to the world and the story, and it's because of the way these performances are delivered.
And you're still working through it, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, yeah. And what about you, Rick? What's your nomination?
I'm also going to go with Ragnarok.
Ah, excellent. Okay.
They do a very good job of being a stoic boy.
So, by majority rule, Ragnarok takes home the award for best acting.
And there's such subtlety in some of the deliveries where just the tiniest inflection means so much because it is coming from this incredibly stoic dude.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say
And
enough
correct
good
me
things.
if I'm wrong, but in God of War, the facial expressions are really important in how you choose narrative.
No,
Not
there is
necessarily.
no choosing narrative.
Oh, okay. I
The
don't know
narrative
because I haven't.
exists, and you fight the things.
It's just
Yeah,
okay.
pretty much.
Okay.
You're out to kill the
Slash
narrative.
and dash. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Next category is best shooter, and I honestly I didn't know I didn't know how to choose one for this category, because I'm not an FPS type person. But I'll start. I chose Roller Drome, and it's a little bit surprising. Roller Drome is a new game that came out this past year, and it is a shooter type game. It's a third person action shooter, where you're basically in a roller drome, like literally,
Like
and
a
you're
roller
shooting each other.
derby, kind of?
Yeah. And yeah, I don't know. I was looking at gameplay and trying to decide on what game would be the best choice, and I settled on Roller Drum. Have any of
It's
you?
super cool. The art style is reminiscent of Sable. It's funny, when they first unveiled
Oh.
it, it's an indie game. And when they first unveiled it, I thought it was a Sable expansion because it has that same kind of sketchy, really kind of cool, slightly watercolor art style. Fast action. It's a cool game.
Yeah, it's got a really nice art style. I think
That
that's
looks
what
really
also
neat.
drew me to it as well. But specifically about the game itself, it's a third-person perspective. Ammo is actually refilled by performing various roller skating tricks, while enemies will drop health pickups when they're defeated, and players need to keep moving and dodging incoming attacks.
Tony Hawk Battle Royale.
Yeah, and so as players complete stages and levels, they gradually unlock more powerful weapons such as grenade launchers and shotguns, and Rick's intrigued. I can see it in his face.
No, I was just looking at this and it looks a lot like Speed Racer, like
Mhm.
90s anime animation, 80s anime animation, you know.
Anyways, that's my nomination. What about you, Rick?
I'm gonna stick with something default because I played it, and I'm gonna say Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2.
Oh,
The
It's
second
definitely
one.
well, Modern Warfare 2, in the sense the one that came out last year.
tell
Um,
us about it.
it was the first Call of Duty that like, one second, I'm band hammering here. There we go. It was the first Call of Duty in a very long time where the combat actually felt good, in the sense of the multiplayer didn't feel so arcadey in a way. I
Okay.
mean, all right. So, you have like Ready or Not or Tarkov is like your Gran Turismo simulation, right? And then you've got other shooters like Apex Legends, and they're your like Cruisin' USA arcade video game. And Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 felt a bit more like Horizon, like Forza Horizon, in the sense of it's a bit simulation, it's a bit arcade. You get a bit of the both. Um, your guns aren't necessarily as light as like laser guns and Halo, where you can like whip a rocket launcher around like nobody's business. But it also doesn't feel like Tarkov, where you move a very heavy gun and your like characters lugging behind because the gun weighs like
Mhm.
50 pounds. So it was kind of in the middle there, and the multiplayer has been a lot of fun when it works. We'll say that. I have a hard time. I have a hard time getting it to run smoothly on my computer, and I'm not quite sure why. But when it
Okay.
does run, I play a lot of Tier 1. The other thing that they introduced that's been a lot of fun as far as the shooting is concerned is a mode called DMZ, and you drop into like it's like PvE/PvP, and You the
Like
using kind of
nuclear winter?
Hmm?
Like nuclear winter?
Yes, but the objective is to not kill other people per se. You have
Okay.
other objectives inside there that you can pick up while you're there, and then you have objectives that you have to do while you're in there. But it's like Tarkov. Like you go in with
Okay.
things to do, but there's other operators in the area, and you can choose to engage or you can choose to hide. And there's also like AI. They're there, but the way that the shooting feels throughout the whole thing is just a very wonderful, less stress. Because Tarkov is like everyone you talk to,
Hmm.
you're like, man, do you like Tarkov? They're like, I hate that game, but I love that game.
Yes.
And it's like that sort of kind of weird relationship where this one's like, oh, you can just hop into some DMZ and get rocked and then go play some
Mhm.
tier one, and which is like the hardcore mode, and be happy. And I just really, really enjoyed the SMGs in particular in the way that they felt. Um, Shalene, you've always mentioned that Division 2 headshots felt nice.
Hmm.
And it's the same thing. Like when you kill someone in the game, it felt like impactful in the sense of like you knew when you killed someone, you can move on to the next target. It wasn't just like, I don't know if I dropped him or not kind of thing. And I just really like the way that they did um, recoil in this game. And they just, the other thing that they changed that was really interesting is the fact that when you pull up a scope, like most games, Shalene, when you figure out that right click is aimed down sights, and you use a scope, the crosshair, like in the scope, is steady with the scope, right? It's all
Yeah.
one. It's a circle in the crosshair, and it all moves. If there's sway, the whole thing moves together. Well, it doesn't work like that in real life. If you have you're looking through a scope, the crosshair actually moves differently than the edge of the scope because of perspective. And they've mimicked that in the game a little bit, where your scope crosshairs move like this along with your gun sway. So they really kind of tried to, again, balance that level between realism and simulation. And I think they did a pretty good job of it. So I'm going to say that one.
It sounds cool.
Long winded, sorry.
Sounds
Jess,
cool.
what about you? What's your nomination?
So I didn't think this was a great year for shooters.
It
When I thought
wasn't,
about
though.
shooters, only a few things came to mind. Call of Duty, of course, maybe, Tiny Tina's, a few indie games. But if this counts, the one I wanted to nominate that I felt was maybe the best shooter this year was the Destiny 2 expansion, The Witch Queen.
Okay.
Fantastic
good
expansion
expansion.
for a fantastic game. So yeah, I would say Destiny 2, The Witch Queen. Just some really great shooting, great story, a lot of cool things in it. Kind of
We'll
bringing
allow it.
people back. Thank you.
Destiny
Yeah.
2.
But then they screwed it up with the following last two seasons have been terrible.
Yes. You got to give people a reason to stay too. That's
The
yeah.
pirate season was it was really bad.
Have you
It's really
played
bad.
Have you played Destiny 2, Shalene?
Not in a couple of years. Why are you laughing? I played it with you.
I
You know I
know,
was
but we
there.
beat the entire game before you realized there was a mini map.
No, we did not beat
Yes,
the
we
entire
did.
game. No,
We
we
were on
didn't.
Mars in the DLC.
Were we?
Yes.
Oh, we were. We were. Oh gosh.
Okay, Shalene, what's your nomination?
I have to abstain from this category because not only did I not play any shooters this year, I was like not even aware of any shooters this year. I didn't watch
many.
any. I didn't really talk to anybody about any, so I don't feel like I can give a nomination that counts.
Okay. So we've got Destiny 2, Witch Queen. We've got Roller Drome, and we've got Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. And we'll let Shalene decide since she is abstaining.
I am going to throw my vote behind Rick with Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. Second one.
Wow.
Yep.
Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2
Because Call of Duty games feel good to play.
And if they're going to win any category, it's probably going to be the shooter category. So congratulations, Call of Duty game devs. You'll be receiving your tiny trophy in the mail.
Congratulations.
Sometime
Can I just
in the
say
next 10 years.
think it's funny that I consider Destiny, the Witch Queen, more of a new game than I do Overwatch 2, which is a shooter, which also came out this year.
Oh,
but that is
that's
really
so
still just
interesting.
Overwatch.
Yes.
That came out this past year.
Overwatch
It
2,
did.
yeah,
I feel like
officially
that's been
released
out
like
for 20
October.
years.
Well, because it already has, and it was called Overwatch. But yeah,
True.
Call of Duty. Congrats.
GG's Call of Duty. Okay, we'll just cue the claps. Well done. Yes, of course, of course. Next category, something that we could probably all relate to in some form or other in playing a game that released this year. Best open world. And these are video games obviously recognized for their expansive maps and free roaming areas in which players can go around the maps that are designed by game developers. And so I'll kick things off. My nomination for best open world, Elden Ring. Yeah, that is my choice, and I'll default to Rick. What did you choose, Rick, for your nomination?
Elden Ring.
Yeah, I kind of figured that's.
If I may wax poetic about the open world, it is one of the very few games that is released recently that does not handhold you at all. They let you rest out of sight of grace. There's kind of this like lackadaisical like finger pointing like that direction ish, you know, of like a beam that sends you off into a direction, and it's up to you whether or not you want to go in that direction. You can choose to head off into a different direction. You and like it's one of those. Instead of hitting an invisible wall, right? In like a game where it's like you can't go that far or whatever, the invisible wall hits you, and you die in the sense that you need
Yes.
to be better to get through that whatever it is.
The invisible wall hits you with 8,000 arrows.
Yes, and there's one
Sounds
section
like
where,
real
like,
life. Yeah.
there's one section in an early map. It's part of the early area where it's easy, and you go through a portal, and it takes you to one of the hardest areas in the game, inside of a cave, and says, "Good luck." And you gotta figure out how am I gonna get out of here. You can't fast travel, so you have to figure out how to get out. And it's just and the way we talk about storytelling, like Bethesda telling story through the world, and this game does that in spades in the sense of it just you'll find and it doesn't do a good job of necessarily telling you what happened. It just kind of alludes to the thing, like there's just a lot of destruction in the place, and then you like see something later and you're like, oh, that's holy crap, this thing that I found on one side of the map is completely related to another thing on the other side of the map. And it did such a good job of making this world so big and so complicated and beautiful and really,
Rick's
really
gonna start crying pretty soon.
it's such a good game.
With the death and the Shalene, what's your nomination?
My nomination also goes to Elden Ring, which I feel is the obvious choice for this category. Um, Elden Ring woke up all the same parts of my heart that Breath of the Wild did. I feel like it does the open world so beautifully, and it is in part because of what Rick said about that it's not holding your hand, and the invisible walls are made of arrows and swords. And
Yes.
I something that I love in video games is when a game lets me make bad choices and either suffer the consequences or get myself out of it. I love going to a place that I'm way under leveled for and somehow getting through it, even if that means that I had to save scum and I was sneaking through. And I just I love that kind of thing. That was something that I did in Breath of the Wild. I went straight to Ganon's castle.
Gosh.
I was like 5-6 hours in when I went to the castle, and I didn't do the boss fights, of course, because I was like 5 hours in. But I snuck around and I got some really cool weapons, and I had those weapons to bring to bear when I was in really tough fights, and I had them way before I should have had them. So I could basically bring out like the what did they call the god beam in Elden Ring? Like
Beam.
Remember
What?
there was the beam that was unbeatable. It was the meme
Oh, they called
beam.
it the
The
meme
meme
beam.
beam.
Yeah, yeah. I used that build for a
Yes.
while. It was
Yes.
intense.
I felt that's how I felt bringing out some of my heavy hitting weapons and shields in Zelda that I had acquired at a low level. I
Mm,
just Elden Ring, it hits all those same little centers in my brain and um exploring it and you can find just this little door that looks like it's not an important door and you go through the door and there's a whole expansive section of world under there and you think you've explored a pretty good chunk of the world and then you find out you've explored a tiny little bit of a
yeah.
tenth of the map and it's
Is that why
the
you only
world of
played
Elden
5
Ring must be
hours?
lauded. Shut up. I played more than 5 hours. Shut up.
Yeah, I mean, you have the upper map, and then you have the Nacron City, and then you have
Mm-hmm.
Safira River, and then there's like the other
Hmm.
areas that
Hmm.
are above, and it's incredible. It's incredible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, and we still have
Don't shame me for having a busy life this year, okay?
we still have one more nomination to get, and that is Jess's. So I'll turn the mic over to you.
Well, thank you. I hate to be the voice of dissent, but
Will
I guess
be.
I won't. I went for Elden
Oh,
Ring. Only
oh,
one game listed in this
Wow.
category, only one possible. Elden Ring really did some amazing stuff with open world. Kind of the converse of what Shalene was saying about a game letting you go to places that are overleveled and
Yeah.
make bad choices is that it also means it's a game
Yeah.
that doesn't punish you unfairly. It punishes
Mm-hmm.
you because, you made that choice, but the game, it didn't bust you down for no reason. Usually you're like, oh, okay, and you can learn from those decisions. So that's a wonderful thing. And also, some of the best moments, some of the most memorable moments in a game are when you're in over your head, don't know what's going on,
Yes.
not having your hand held. It's not just emergent gameplay, it's also emergency gameplay. You're like, oh, holy shit, kobold train, you're running out and you got to figure a way
Mm-hmm.
out or, just die.
Um.
yeah.
Okay, so I think it's that settles it. Elden Ring
Fair to
is
say?
taking the award for best open world. Our next category this evening is
No
by the
claps.
way,
No claps.
we need to there we go. Well done, Elden Ring once again. Blah blah blah. Okay, best category for this evening is best RPG role playing game. Rick, why don't we start with you?
Elden Ring.
Okay, Elden Ring. What kind of roles have you played in Elden Ring? Tell us.
I've played a wizard tarnished. I've played a great blade tarnished. There's no role playing in the game. It's just
Okay.
the
That-
only one I played that could qualify.
Okay. Um, Shalene, what about you?
My nomination is also Elden Ring.
Really?
Yeah, and I think it is a great RPG. Because
But
there are so many different ways you can take your character. There's a lot
yeah,
you can
but
do.
but okay, I guess I'm thinking of role playing in the sense of you can like kind of make your character who you want it to be. There's a backstory.
That is one aspect of role playing. But
Yeah.
to me, the more important aspect to defining an RPG is the ability to spec your character out.
Leveling and
Okay.
specking. It's an ARPG, an
Mhm.
action RPG, and that is definitely an important part of the genre.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
That's true.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
there's
I think
definitely not.
Elden Ring did a great job.
Jess,
Yes, in that part of it, in the specking of your
I've
character,
enjoyed
yes, they did a very
watching
good
people
job.
play in so many different styles and with
Mhm.
so many different builds, and
And they let
I'm
you spec
amazed
the
at what
entire
people
thing.
do. Hmm.
That's
I
incredible.
will solicit the next nomination from Jess. Go ahead.
Okay, so interestingly, for RPGs this year, I had a lot of choices, but most of them were more tactics based. It was a good year for tactics based games and RPGs, but maybe not as much for traditional old school RPGs, at least not that I played. So I ended up putting down, only because Persona 5 Royal, while it came out on Xbox this year, was already out, I went with Triangle Strategy. Triangle Strategy is a fantastic RPG that evokes Final Fantasy tactics. And yeah, I couldn't play it because it was on Switch, but I watched the stream of it. I watched the reviews of it, and I thought about how excited I will be when it gets ported. It's just got a great JRPG style story. It's got the kind of action, the tactical action combat of more like, say, Divinity Original Sin or Pillars of Eternity, that kind of isometric RPG, but a little bit more turn based. So it kind of blends the two genres together, and it seems to have a great story, and I can't wait to play someday.
Jess, is this anything like Octopath?
Yes. Yeah, it's a little bit more like tactics than Octopath, but it's got a similar style.
Interesting.
And that leaves me as the last nomination. And I actually did a little bit of research about this because I was really trying to figure out, geez, I haven't played that many RPGs this year. The one that I did play was Horizon Zero Dawn, but that didn't come out this year. But I did a little bit more digging, and my nomination actually is going to go to Horizon Forbidden West. And it's premised on the original, but also I'll just say that, the open world is certainly impressive, but Guerrilla Games actually managed to really stock it full of meaty different side quests, and gear upgrades and menacing creatures, and the sort of they do a wonderful job of melding a beautiful varied world with this really satisfying combat, I think, that is new, but also familiar, and it makes you want to sort of explore every last corner of the map, but it's so building on your character because you find all of these new things, and it's very similar to Fallout in that aspect. So that would be my nomination.
That's a great choice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now we have to decide. Is it Elden Ring? I think it's Elden Ring, is it?
Yeah, we have 2 votes for Elden Ring.
So.
There we
So,
go.
once again,
Kind
Elden
of
Ring.
has to be.
Good job. Our next category is Best Puzzles, and I will let Shalene start with this category because I know that you love puzzle games.
I do, but I didn't play any current puzzle games this year. I played a couple of old ones, but not really anything new. So my nomination for this one is going to be Elden Ring,
Okay.
which I say because the environment itself is a puzzle, navigating the game is a puzzle, and I approach the boss fights like they're a puzzle.
Right. I remember Rick talking about this at some length in terms of how do you decide what you're going to do next? Determines on whether or not you live or you die.
It feels very much like putting together puzzle pieces when you read the little bits of lore and when you have all of the wild little advice pieces that people have written. And I know this is not a puzzle
Pathetic
game
sword.
and there aren't traditional puzzles in the game, but in this is going to have to be my nomination because it's the puzzliest thing I did in 2022.
All right. I'll go next. My nomination for best puzzles is gonna go to Plague Tale Requiem. And if any of you have played Plague Tale, or any of the Plague Tale games, you'll know that they do have quite a bit of puzzles in them. And some of them are significantly more difficult than others. And I think, there's been a few moments in Plague Tale Innocence where I've gotten stuck for hours trying to figure out a puzzle. And so, yeah, if you haven't had a chance to play it, I highly recommend that you pick it up. But Plague Tale Requiem is my nomination. And what about you, Jess? What's your nomination?
So I went for a puzzle game for this category, and I decided to go with Strange Horticulture.
Ooh, I want to play that.
It looks wonderful. Strange Horticulture is kind of an occult puzzle game where you're an herb witch, you have an alchemy shop, but it's not like Potion Craft, which is very 8-bit and another one that recently came out. It's more a little bit more visual novel and kind of puzzle decision making, putting things together, and it's got a detective flavor too. So yeah, gonna go with Strange Horticulture, not on Xbox yet, but I'm gonna play it if it comes, and if not, maybe I'll break down and get it on PC because it looks really good.
Great choice. I
It
really want to
does.
try
It
that.
does look really good, and part of me wants to play it. Not so much for the puzzles, but for the educational aspect. Because I imagine that there's a lot that you can learn about like different plants that are edible and things like that. And as an avid hiker, I'm always like looking at like, what is this plant? Can I eat this? Can we make tea with this? Anyways, yeah, great choice. What about you, Rick? What's your nomination?
Elden Ring, just because that same thing. It's the most puzzliest thing I've played. So
So, by majority rule, Elden Ring wins this category for best puzzle. Well done, Elden Ring.
again,
Okay, next category this evening is best DLC or expansion. And who wants to start? Who wants to start?
I'd gladly start.
Okay, go right ahead.
So, DLC or expansion? Originally, I wrote down a remake because I was thinking, well, I don't know any expansions, but then it occurred to me. The best choice in this category, the ultimate expansion of 2022, and hopefully the winner of the Stack Award is Cuphead, the delicious last course. OMG muffins. Okay, so if Cuphead was great, action just really fun, the art style unbelievable. Delicious Last Course really kicked it up. You get the new character, Ms. Chalice. She can go back and play all the other content, or of course the DLC on the new island. She controls really well, and yeah, it's just the idea that they did an
He's so
expansion for a game.
cute.
Did it come out in like when was Cuphead? I think it was 2017 or 2018. You know, it took so long to
2019,
make. This
2019, I think. Wasn't
It's
it?
been a while.
at least 28, I think it was 2018. But it took this long to release the expansion content, the DLC, because of how much work they put into it, and it's well deserved. They really put their heart and soul into the game.
Oh, it was 2017. Yeah,
There
you're
we go.
correct.
Been a while.
I'm gonna follow suit with that and also nominate Cuphead, Delicious Last Course as best DLC expansion. And my reason for choosing this game to nominate for this category is specifically around the acknowledgement of the amount of work that is going into the creation of a game like this. We know that on previous editions of the Stack Awards, Cuphead has won best art style. And I think that should be acknowledged in creating new DLC. It's not just a rinse, wash, repeat. The amount
These
of
are all
work,
hand-drawn
the amount of
animations.
work that has to go into creating even just DLC is substantial. And so that is my reason for choosing this as a nomination. Shalene, what about you?
Okay, my choice is Fallout 76 The Pit Expedition because that's the only expansion I've played.
Okay, tell us a little bit more.
You get to go to the pit and do expeditions.
Have you Jess, you've obviously played this as well. Yeah.
Quite a bit, yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's a
It's-
fun expansion. It's a good new thing to add to the game. I enjoy it as a system for sure.
It's fun. It's fun. My favorite thing about it is the environmental design that they did with the pit. I felt like they did a great job with the environment. I don't know that it is an award-worthy expansion, but it is the one that I played.
Okay. And last but not least, Rick, what is your nomination for best DLC?
Witch Queen for Destiny 2.
Ah, Destiny
Very
2.
It got me back into it, playing for a while until the pirate season. So bad. Anyway, the story was really good, and I liked a lot of the weapons and the missions were really fun. Some of them were real doozies, especially the last Witch Queen battles.
How long is
Stuff.
that? How long is that DLC? It seems like it's quite
It's pretty long,
Yeah.
actually. It's not super long, but like, it's it's challenging, and I think that's what takes it so long. It's definitely not. I wouldn't say it's. I don't know if it'd be hard to solo. I don't know if I could do it solo.
Yeah.
But I played it with friends, and it was fun to go through and do all the different things that they had, and the weapons were fun, and And I'm trying to think, did they bring out? No, crafting was around then, but the weapons are really nice. And so that was what was fun. And I just liked the story. It was cool.
Well, the award goes to Cuphead. Delicious course. Well done, Cuphead. Our next category is Best Independent Game. And who wants to start with their nomination?
I'll start.
Okay, go ahead.
I feel like this category has a ringer, and that is Stray. It's the obvious choice to me. So Stray was wonderful.
Okay, and I'll follow you on that, Shalene, and also nominate Stray. Yeah, I think hands down best indie of 2022. Jess, what about you?
I'm going to nominate Cult of the Lamb. Just for being
Excellent
a hell of a lot of
choice.
fun. Like I mentioned that, it was kind of in my mind for art. It's got style, it's got panache, it's wicked. It was a water cooler game where, it kind of, people didn't know what it was going to be. They didn't know it was going to be so great. And the idea that, you are a lamb brought back from what? Some kind of demon. I don't remember the whole backstory. And you're starting this cult and you got to, you got to treat your villagers right or sacrifice them as need be, because that's, as a cult leader, that's your responsibility. And yeah, it's just adorable. Great indie game. Really like it.
I also really love the art style of Cult of the Lamb. And I think games like this often get overlooked in terms of art style. But yeah, excellent choice.
Great choice.
What about you, Rick?
Neon white.
Yeah.
Which, say that again?
Neon white.
Oh.
Only because it was Yahtzee's #1 game this year.
Okay.
I've never played it. Don't know what it's
looks
about.
interesting. I have no idea, but I'm terrible. I don't play indie games. You know this.
Yeah.
I've
yeah.
heard some really good things about Neon White.
Is
Yeah,
this only
people-
available on Switch? Is that, or is it?
I have no
Do
idea.
we know? Okay,
I
great,
have no idea.
awesome.
None of us played it. We don't know.
Okay, so we've got Neon White, we've got Cult of the Lamb, and then we've got 2 nominations for Stray. So congratulations, Stray. Well done, well done. Next category up, multiplayer, best multiplayer. And I really struggled with this one, so I'll default. Maybe we can start with Rick. What do you think best multiplayer was for you?
For me, Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 2 too, because it's what I played the most with friends this year.
Okay.
And DMC. So I have a buddy, and we played Tarkov together, and so like when we started playing DMZ, I had like weapons that were unsuppressed, and he had like a suppressed like sniper rifle. So I'd like ping. I was like, hey, there's 2 at the, we'd sneak up, and I'm like, hey, there's two bad guys at the 4-way there, and he goes, okay, dropped him. Like, all right, we're moving up, and we'd be real tactical about it, and just all right, I'm gonna flank left, I'm gonna flank right, and blah blah blah, and we'd like take out enemy teams, and we'd do, and then we'd distract the helicopter all tactically. And then another buddy of mine, Sound Freak, in the chat, was like, hey, can I play? And I was like, sure, man, we can play. And so we get in, and I'm like with my buddy that we play Tarkov with. I'm like, all right, there's two tangos on the roof, and then Sound Freak would be like, RPG. With an RPK. I was like, I guess it's go time. And then so like the reason I say that is because like one style of play is like multiplayer, you like playing tactical, and the other style of play is just like run and gun, have fun, shoot up, everything, and it doesn't matter. And then to play tier 1 with Sound Freak, and it was a lot of fun because we would just do like rotating maps of different things, and trying to level up weapons as we went was a lot of fun. And and it's not a very toxic game if you make sure to mute all of the chat every time you play.
That's the best way to play.
Yeah, it is.
It really
Especially Call of
is. It
Duty.
really is.
Yeah.
Okay. Shalene, you want to go next?
Okay, I didn't play any 2022 multiplayer games. So like I could nominate Sea of Thieves. I played Sea of Thieves.
Fallout 76 too. Don't forget
Sure.
that.
Yeah. Fallout 76. Yeah.
Sea of Thieves would be my nomination.
I also really
That's
struggled with
loud.
this category because I didn't play any new multiplayer games that came out in 2022, but there is a multiplayer game that was new to me this past year, and that's Deep Rock Galactic.
I knew you were gonna say that one.
Yeah, and that's probably honestly one of the best multiplayer games that I've played. You have to be so strategic. We're now getting into deep dives. Deep dives are fun. So that would be my nomination.
Nice.
And Jess, what is your nomination for best
Just to
multiplayer?
verify the category. Now, is it only versus or we're talking co-op multiplayer as well?
I mean, play with friends.
Multiplayer of any kind.
Yeah.
So I really felt like we were spoiled for choice on multiplayer this year. Like there were a ton. I know you didn't check out some of the newer ones, but I had a hard time choosing. And I ended up going with Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, if co-op counts. Tiny Tina,
That
it's a
counts.
ridiculous, over-the-top game. You know, it's like it's got attitude to spare. It's a fun shooter. It's fun with friends getting in there, causing chaos. If you can hear each other over, all the noises happening.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, for those of you who don't know, it's there in Borderlands 3. There was a DLC called Tiny Tina's, and basically you're playing the characters in a Dungeons and Dragons game that Tiny Tina is the DM for. And so it was so popular that they made an entire Borderlands game where you play the character that is being controlled essentially by Tiny Tina and the other players as a DM. And,
Yep.
and so it's a Borderlands game.
And she's always throwing wrenches into it, and it was better than it had a right to be in my mind, because the original DLC content was great, but Wonderlands was, I don't know, so much better. Like it had a lot going on. It was a lot of fun to play with friends, and the reason it's a great co-op game or multiplayer is because when you're doing those D&D sessions, when you're doing role-playing sessions, it's great to do it as a party, and this lets you do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What was one of the characters called? What was it? Like one of the classes you could pick. Like it was so absurd.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. They're not coming to me right now. I'm just thinking Queen Butt Stallion, classic character.
Jeez.
But I gotta tell you, all of these classes is killing me.
So we've got just
Stabomancer.
oh yes.
Stabomancer? That's
Stabomancer,
amazing.
a Berserker, like BRR Zerker. So yeah, like they definitely spared no expense. And
Berserker, Stone Cold Killer.
yeah,
Amazing.
need to play this game. at
What's
some
your
point.
choice, Rick?
Call of
I
Duty.
already did Call of Duty.
Oh,
So we've got Sea of Thieves, Call of
Thank you
Duty,
for
Deep
listening to
Rock,
your friend, Shalane.
I didn't write it down. I'm
and
sorry.
Tiny Tina's Wonderland. And I think by default, Call of Duty also came out this year. So I think the choice should be between Call of Duty and Tiny Tina's Wonderland because those are games that actually released in
Didn't Deep
2022.
Rock release this year?
No.
Did it not?
2019.
Okay.
2019.
I'm willing to throw in behind Call of Duty as this was a really good year for Call of Duty.
It really was.
People are loving it. It's a great multiplayer game. Let's go for it.
Okay.
It deserves its honors.
Best multiplayer goes to Call of Duty. Well done. Moving right along this evening, our next category is Best Old Game. Now, these are games that were not necessarily released in 2022, but games that we played this year that sort of resonated with us. Who would like to start in this category?
Can I start?
Yeah, you go right ahead.
Okay. So, I was talking about Call of Duty at work to a colleague, and then someone mentioned that I should try Call of Duty World War II, which came out a while ago. It's not Vanguard, but Call of Duty World War II.
Yeah.
And I was like, is it any good? Because like most of the campaign mission and most of the campaigns for Call of Duties and stuff have gotten really terrible, and I just wasn't quite sure. And I gotta tell you, Call of Duty World War II's campaign was one of the most interesting, heart-wrenching, and amazing things that I had ever been a part of. And like, the missions weren't just go here, capture point, take out this, destroy the guns, do this. There was like a mission where you had to like infiltrate like a Nazi like camp as like undercover, and like it took you back to the original like Call of Duty days, and like
Mhm.
the
Right.
characters and the stories and the acting that they did with the mocap suits and stuff like that. They had actual actors act these
Well, and there's
people
some.
out, and
If I correct me if I'm wrong, but the it's actually there's historical accuracies within the right.
I would say I don't think in the story, no. If there is, then they were merely like in the sense of Saving Private Ryan. Things happened that were close to the story, but the
Mm,
largely Saving Private Ryan was fiction.
yeah.
If I'm understanding correctly, the story is fiction, but it takes place in the Battle of the Bulge. It takes place during D-Day. It takes place during
Mm. Do
you know
you
different.
do you go to Calais? Are you in Calais or are you
I don't think so, but
on?
um, but for like $20, if you can download this and play the campaign, it is my goodness. If you, it is one of the strongest campaigns in the Call of Duty lineup, if
Cool.
if not the best campaign in the Call of Duty lineup.
That's great. That's high
And
praise.
it should be. Hi puppy, hi puppy. Oh, you're out of the crate. Why are you out of the crate?
Can we see
Okay,
the
I guess we'll
puppy?
take that as
Huh?
our
Okay.
cue.
Oh,
For me, actually, I think that my nomination for best old game,
Amber.
and it's not that old. It came out in 2019. Best old game for me would be Deep Rock Galactic. Um, and yeah, just mimicking what I've said previously, if you haven't played Deep Rock, I seriously recommend that you check it out. One of the really cool things about Deep Rock is that it's session based. So the commitment on you is very minimal. You can sit down and play a session with up to 4 friends, have a great time, and it's over in 30 minutes. And you can say, okay, see you later. Like, that's all I have time for, but at least we were able to play. And there's a certain zaniness about it. The miners are they love their job, but they also hate their job in a way. And so they're just kind of doing their best with a bad situation. And they have a certain cynicism about it that is really makes it really comical as well. And you also have this instant gratification after you finish each session because you get, XP and rewards, and you can, put cosmetics and things, and the in-game lobby is probably the best video game lobby I've ever experienced. It's so incredible. It's so intricate. There's a museum in the lobby. There's a med bay, and then there's a bar with like a jukebox, and you can listen to your own music. There's a bartender bot named Lloyd, and you can tip him. It's glorious. Anyways, that's
Can I
my
give you a little
nomination.
tip, Bender? When you're dancing in the bar, hit V on the keyboard to do your rock and stone salute, and your legs stay doing the thing.
Yeah,
as your
the
body
same
goes.
thing happens when you drink beer while you're dancing too.
Oh, really?
Yes, yeah. So like if you're doing the ballerina thing and you're drinking beer, your hips will just
You'll-
be turning.
Yes.
It's amazing.
It
Yeah.
is great.
Jess, what about you? What's your nomination?
So, nomination for best old game. I played a lot of them this year, mostly RPGs. And while I could pick one that I think would get Shalene to kind of come over on my side for the win, I'm going to have to go with a game I played for the very first time this year that was an old game. And that's going to be Wasteland 3. I freaking love Wasteland 3, dude. It is a fantastic game. People know Wasteland is kind of the progenitor to the Fallout series. And, In Exile was bringing it back. Recently did Wasteland 2, like around 2014 or 15. And then Wasteland 3, like 2 years ago. I think it was 2020 it came out, maybe 2019. Anywho, what a game. Like, it's done so well. Isometric, it's a tactical again, because I do love that style of RPG combat, but it's got more action. Modern graphics, flair. It is what this kind of game should be, in my opinion. Wonderful story. A great soundtrack. I didn't nominate it for soundtrack because it didn't come out this year, but since we're on old game now, I can. Yeah. Wasteland 3 for sure. If you want to know something about where the Fallout series came from, another take on the apocalypse, just a zany but with a different style, it's a little bit more 80s. It draws from 80s nostalgia, way more than like 50s, 60s. But that same kind of idea, I recommend Wasteland 3. It was about a 100-hour game, But you can play it, and I think 60 or 70. I just did everything.
I was awful at this game. I was at the beginning and I got to the point where like you had to deal with a walker at the very
Mhm.
beginning, and I didn't know what to do. I couldn't get through it, and I was like, I can't.
Yeah, the opening is one of those things where they kind of expect you to fail. And that's part of it. Like there's the opening scene, you're kind of supposed to lose most of your squad and then go from there. So if you are starting this game and you find yourself discouraged, just go with it and it'll get better.
Huh. Okay, I'll give it another shot because this was something I did want to play.
Mm-hmm.
This is something I did want to play.
It's on the list for me too.
What about you, Shalene? What's your nomination?
My nomination goes to Overcooked 2. Archie and I are still working our way through this, 3-starring each level before we move to the next one. And it's gotten so hard and so frustrating. And it's a wonderful time. It fills me with joy.
Overcooked is
And
absolutely glorious. I'm so glad that you chose this.
yeah, I feel like this game is it's marvelous. It's a very special creation, and it's so cruel. It's so brutal. People talk about Elden Ring. No, Overcooked 2 is the
Yeah.
brutal game.
Yeah. What's your favorite level?
I don't think I have a favorite level.
Do you have a least favorite level?
The one that I'm trying right now is usually my least favorite.
The one that I can't get through.
This is one of those experiences that
You're like, it's terrible, and you have to keep playing it because
it's awful.
Yeah.
Again.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, I hate this. I'm not having fun again.
Yeah. I think my least favorite is the sushi one with the conveyor belts that you've got to run on the conveyor belts and you get thrown across the kitchen. It's awful.
It gets so hard in some of these. We're in one now where there's this pool of lava between, there are 3 different sections of the kitchen and there's lava, and the platform rises and sinks, but each time that it comes back up, the platform is different. It's not the same platform.
Yeah.
So
What kind of kitchen is that?
it's a bad kitchen. It's a very bad kitchen. And yeah, we keep falling in the lava and trying to like throw the vegetables across to the other side, and they don't make it and they sink, and it's really tough. Really, really tough.
In my experience, Overcooked is best played with 2 people. Anything more than that is chaos.
It's really
too many
interesting.
cooks in the kitchen.
Too many cooks in
Because
the kitchen. Yeah.
We often struggle a lot, and then when we finally do succeed, it's just like this magical moment where everything clicks and we don't talk to each other.
Yes, you just know what you're thinking.
Do it perfectly.
Yeah. That's good. Excellent choice. So we've got Deep Rock Galactic, Overcooked 2, Call of Duty World War II, and
This is everywhere.
what was
Wasteland 3.
Wasteland 3. Thank you. I don't know what to choose, so you guys deliberate and choose amongst yourselves. I'm going to drink.
I'm willing to throw a vote behind Deep Rock just because of the joy that I've had in hearing vendors' stories.
Yeah, that's
You have to
true,
come play it.
That's true because Vendor hasn't been this on a game since Ark.
It's true. Well,
You have been really excited.
it's just easy and it's mindless and you can just
Do it without much.
yes.
It's not stressful.
Okay. So are we putting our coins in the pot for Deep Rock?
Deep Rock.
Or
Let's go.
Jesse still want to make okay. Well, congratulations, Deep Rock, on winning a Stack Award for the first time ever. Yay! Next category up, biggest surprise for you this year. And this category isn't necessarily tied to specifically 2022 games, right, Shalene? This is
Right.
games that we've played that has surprised us
Oh.
the most. And for me, I'm going to quickly just throw out my nomination. Deep Rock obviously was the biggest surprise for me this year. I'll hand the mic over to Shalene.
My nomination for this category is Kirby and the Forgotten Land. I was shocked by how much I loved this game. It was so delightful, and it was a post-apocalyptic wasteland, but you're a Kirby. And you're Kirby going through this post-apocalyptic hellscape, and you can turn into a car, and you can be a traffic cone. And I mean,
That sounds like a game specifically made for you. Yeah.
I really enjoyed it, and it delighted me, and I was very surprised to see this incredibly adorable post-apocalyptic hellscape and experience it as Kirby.
Excellent. Okay. Jess, what about you?
So I was thinking it had to be 2022. And based on that note, I went with the Atari 50 Anniversary Celebration Collection. Atari 50 is a great package of classic Atari games, but it's about the whole package. You know, so much of it is about behind the scenes info, interviews, unlocks that you get as you go through, and you learn a lot of stories and stuff behind Atari. And while it's not surprising that Atari, has some neat stories, and while the games are kind of as you remember them, as a package, as something actually awesome that Atari put out, it is entirely surprising. I mean, this is a company that's lately known for speaker hats. Like, what have they done that's good? Oh, a console that didn't actually launch, speaker hats. Like, just, I don't know they've done a good game since their version of Dungeons and Dragons that they did in like 2006, 2007. So, yeah, Atari 50 collection. No, just watch the videos and the unlocks. I didn't pony up for it because since it is mostly visual, yeah.
Biggest surprise that doesn't have to be 2022. Blade and Sorcery VR. I was looking for different VR games and I stumbled on Blade and Sorcery because it's people are like, this is going to be Skyrim VR. And if they ever do come out with a campaign, it's definitely going to be Skyrim VR. But there's not a game that's more visceral and more violent and also more fun than Blade and Sorcery. It is a hand-to-hand combat with bows and arrows and mage staffs and things in VR. And uh, probably, probably there there are brutality compilation clips of people doing the most insane kills and like so it's a brutal game and like all right so the thing is I'm convinced and I talk about this a lot whenever I talk about this game. My favorite thing to do is just to set up an endless stream of like melee combatants. It's just a lot of fun to sword fight. And there's like moments where like I'm getting tired, right? My heart rate is constantly like over 100 beats per minute, and I'm like sweating, right? I've been playing it for a while in a session. I'm sweating, so like I can feel sweat coming down my face at the same time there's blood on the VR screen because I'm getting damaged. And it gets a little bit visceral in the sense of like immersive immersion, right? I
Yeah,
know it's
yeah.
sweat, but like it looks like blood. And I'm convinced that when you play this game, there's something in your mind that triggers a bit that takes you back to like ye olden days of when you were fighting hand to hand for life, right? Because that's there's no other intimate sort of
Yeah, there's
like
no bullet flying through the air at you.
right. It's
Yeah.
you or that person, and you're right next to each other. And I was watching my father-in-law play this game, and I couldn't see what he was doing. I just saw him with the VR headset on. And there's one point where I hear him like go cling cling, and I hear a stab, and then I see him like kind of like stick his tongue out a little bit and like stab 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 stab. Right? It was just funny to watch a little
Brings out the
pain. And so
Jesus.
like on the and what's funny is, and I was just so surprised on how much I loved playing this game. And what also is surprising is the subreddit of Blade and Sorcery. So on the subreddit, there's a lot of strange things that happen on the subreddit. But one of the things that constantly is said are how many people are surprised that they get erections from playing the game.
What?
Right, right. Very strange. But as I was telling this to a coworker, he's like, that's a thing, right? And I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, it's well documented that the Roman and Greek armies, the men that would fight in these armies, often reported getting these after fighting a large
Really?
battle. Yeah, so I don't know what it is, but it definitely, I think, triggers some sort of little psychological tick that takes you, a human, to a different place than like a shooter would. And I don't say it's not violent; it's just different.
Takes us
It's such
back
a
to
funny.
your most primitive form,
I think it does a little bit
stabbing
because
stuff with
yeah, because like what other game lets you do that in such a way where you're doing it for real, in a sense of you're making the motions, you're the
well,
one fighting the person. It's
yeah.
a very interesting game, and it's also very silly, as you can see in the screenshots. There's like telekinesis, you can lift
Yeah.
people and throw them around, but
Well, Shalene, I
the
think we may have
yeah,
solved your issue with stress balls.
it is very
we,
stress relieving.
we just got to get you this
It is
game, and
very
then
stress relieving. One of these days I'll have to stream it. It is one of the most. It's such a fun game to play, but I'm sorry to
okay,
ramble on it.
we all got so entrenched in your story. I don't know who has gone and who hasn't gone in terms of
We've
nominations.
all gone.
Oh,
Yeah,
we've
we
all
all have.
gone. Okay. So we've got Deep Rock. We've got Overcooked.
No.
I don't
We've
remember.
got Kirby and the Forgotten Land. It's in the show notes, Fender. Kirby and the Forgotten Land, Blade and Sorcery VR, Atari 50th Anniversary Collection, and Deep Rock Galactic.
Ah, okay.
It's a varied list.
I'm willing to throw
Very
my vote over to Blade and Sorcery, just because of how you've captivated me in your story. It's weird.
Same.
Yes, it was very compelling.
I want to see studies done of this game, of like people like playing it and watching, somehow watching their brain doing it. It'd be really interesting to see.
Well, congrats to the makers of Blade and Sorcery.
It's still in early access. It's still working.
Fascinating. All right, moving along with the show, the game that helped you survive the year is our next category. And who would like to take this first?
Kirby. Kirby brought me joy in a time that I needed some joy. And I think I'm glad that game came along at the time that it did, because it was a time that I needed something wholesome and happy.
Okay. What about you, Rick?
That's a good question. I don't know. I'd still say Cyberpunk.
Ah, excellent choice.
Just
Okay.
because that's a world you can easily escape in.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. So for you, the choice is based on escapism.
Oh, absolutely.
Jess, what about you?
Survive of the year for me went to Fallout New Vegas. Since it
Mm,
isn't necessarily a current category.
but
Jumping
brilliant.
jumping into New Vegas this year again, which I mean, obviously I always have at least one Fallout game on the side, like I've said, in a year, sometimes more. But during a slight dearth of content in the first part of the year in 76, and it gave me my Fallout fix, reconnected me to that, version of the Wasteland, the Mojave Wasteland, and just fantastic. I was streaming a lot of it too. So it gave me a reason to log on and want to stream as well. I had something to say, a game to play, share with friends, want to play. Really enjoyed it. So yeah, first half of the year, that game kept me going.
Great.
Wonderful.
For me, it's a toss-up. I have two,
Mhm.
and they're equal in how they've contributed. So first of all, American Truck Sim. I don't know. It just like hit me this year. I think that there's a certain level of do you see Zoom doing the thumbs up emote in my camera?
I just saw that.
There's also one for when you put your hand up. It raises the hand. Watch.
Really?
Yeah. See? Oh, and it moved me and switched all of us. Now I've got to lower my hand.
Oh my goodness.
I don't know how to do it. Undo it.
Did it? I don't think it did it on the.
There we go. There we go. What was I talking about? American Truck Sim. So I think
ATS.
there's a certain level of catharsism that goes into driving. And I didn't do a lot of driving over the pandemic. I'm mostly working from home now. So American Truck Sim has really sort of filled that, and then also seeing all of the different DLC based states that SCS Software has developed has been really cool because I've been able to see parts of the United States that I haven't, but I've also been able to see parts and drive parts of the United States that I've been to, which is nice because it's been able to allow me to sort of rekindle some of those memories driving through Flagstaff and around the Grand Canyon and up the I-10 in California and things like that. I love that. That's great. It's also helped me think things through scientifically. So if I have a problem that I'm trying to solve, and it's psychologically documented that it's actually better for you to waste time to be able to work more efficiently. And so ATS has been one of my sort of outlets to try to work through problems as I'm driving, and thinking about those problems as I'm driving. And it's a solo experience for the most part. I mean, I haven't really convoyed with anybody, but for a while. But so there's that one. But then also Deep Rock comes in because Jess and Hobbit and I have been trioing Deep Rock, but it's also been sort of a exercise in reflection for us to talk about our own lives and our problems in our lives and bounce ideas off each other while we're like killing monsters in caves. So those two, and I really can't decide between the two. I think all games that we've nominated should really just get the award. Yeah.
Well, that would be lovely, but I'm gonna throw my vote behind Fallout New Vegas because of course I am.
Yeah, I think it would be
Always.
silly not to. Yeah, agree.
Thank you guys. That is, yeah, it helped me get through, but I know it's helped all of us in different years, different times.
Fallout New Vegas still remains my favorite Fallout.
So good.
Congratulations, Bethesda, once again. Next category, WTF, the game that made you question your existence. I'm going to start real quick. Cyberpunk?
Really?
Yeah.
Cyberpunk 2077.
I bought a dildo
Oh.
in Cyberpunk.
Oh,
I was gonna
okay.
say,
I'm
wait,
like,
I thought we were talking about video games.
The
so
tiara
it didn't
gives
come
it
out
away,
last
doesn't
year, but it.
It didn't come out last year, but I couldn't think of a game that came out in 2022 that made me go, what the heck? But Cyberpunk is a game that I played in 2022, and it was the most shocking. Because, and Rick, I mean, you've talked about this in the past, there's this societal collapse that just seems to work in the world of Cyberpunk in Night City. People are living terrible lives, but they're living terrible lives well, somehow. And they're just making do, and laws are totally different. And that's okay. I don't know.
I also want to say that there's one of those that you can get as a weapon, and every time you hit, it goes.
Really?
Yes. Yeah, there is.
I must find this.
One of my best memories of that game was finding Dick Twisties with you on
Dick Twisties was the best.
We're like, what the heck?
Yeah, I went there because I wanted to find it when I first started playing. But I went at like 10 in the morning and it was empty. There's like nobody there.
Just one dude at the bar and like.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
just like real weird.
Yeah, because I just like I didn't want to wait till nighttime, and anyways, yeah. So Rick,
you got to get twisting early. I guess.
Rick, what's your nomination?
It's not a 2022 release, but it's definitely Blade and Sorcery. In the sense that, okay,
it's a good choice. Yeah.
There's a moment where I found myself fighting, right, to stay alive in that game, and it ended up that I in my right hand I can't remember if it was a riding sword or a rapier at the time. I don't remember. But in my left hand was a dagger that I held blade down, and I somehow got it to where the bad guy trapped his arm behind me, and my dagger arm was on top of his arm, and it was perfect leverage to stab him in the face multiple times very quickly over and over again. And I was like, this is insanity. And then there's one map where there's like a in Skyrim the the big metal grates that fling at you and they have the spikes on them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's one of those. It's propped up on the wall, and I was like fighting someone, and I grabbed him by the throat, and I like looked at the spike wall, and I looked at them, and I went, I wonder if I can. And I walked over and went spoosh, and then pushed them slowly through the spike wall, so the spike went through their head, and I went, you can do that.
Yeah.
That's gross. And then there was another time where I was in this dungeon, and this one surprised me. I had killed an NPC, and hanging from the ceiling was a meat hook. And then I looked down at the NPC, and I looked up at the meat hook, and I'm like, no, you can't do this. And I picked the body up, went,
Oh, gross,
chopped through their
gross.
chest, and I was like, I am never
Okay,
doing that
okay.
again. That
Blade
was
and
disgusting.
sorcery, blade and sorcery.
Because
Jess.
again, like it's a sandbox. What can you do? What are the limitations? How much does the game let you be violent and terrible? And the answer is a lot.
Okay, yes,
Find
I
out
agree.
limits.
Yeah, that would make
That
me
was
question
that was
my
the most
existence as well.
WTF of
Yep.
this year.
Jess, what about you?
So there weren't that many WTF games for me this year, so I'm giving it to Scorn. Because
Scorn.
WTF Scorn, not only
Yeah.
are you like the drippiest, moistest, weirdest game out there, you know, you're all like HR Giger, but it's not like even good HR Giger. It's like weird, gross HR Giger.
Oh, this is
And
the
then
yeah.
Yeah, and then they have the gall to not even be good after forcing that on me for multiple like game previews and shows and pictures. And turns out it's more of a puzzle game than a shooter, but a difficult puzzle game, like, you know, not really intuitive. And yeah, WTF Scorn. Why? Why you be like that?
Yeah,
It is-
it's odd.
It's a real weird game. Like it doesn't make any
Ugh.
sense. It's dumb.
Shalene, what about you? You're muted, dear.
Sorry. My nomination, I don't know if this is a 2022 game. I don't think it is. It's a mobile game, and it's called Unearth U, just the letter U. And this game is like, it's a cross between a mobile game and a self-help guided meditation app. And there is this character that's sort of leading you through the app, and her name is Care. And she is like Cortana made of plants, except she dances like Commander Shepard.
What is the game called again?
Unearth You.
Hmm.
It's very, very strange. And there were trippy videos that were shown in this game, and like the guided meditation portion is just it was very bizarre. And Care kind of like sends you notifications through the day, like, hey, you know, are you taking time for yourself? And like, and there were times when I was like, what is going on? You know, like I ended up uninstalling it because it made me feel uneasy. And I think that's the point. But Unearth You, WTF.
Well, I posted the choices in the chat. I thought maybe for this category we could let the chat decide. And while they're deciding, we'll move on to honorable mentions. So if anyone has a game that they want to shout out that didn't qualify for a nomination, feel free to mention. And I'll quickly mention Arctico is my nomination. That game released this year. And basically you're in the Arctic and it's very desolate and you have to try to survive. What about you, Jess? What's your nomination?
Well, okay, I'm going to go down I'm going to read for people who are listening and being like, why didn't they mention this game I love so much? Why didn't it come up? I'm going to read all my honorable mentions in each category. I won't describe them. I'll just go through it pretty quick, but that way people kind of
Sure.
know, you know, that what we're thinking about and other games that are good. So for best narrative, I want to shout out Norco. Norco is a narrative adventure instead of a narrative RPG. Great game. Check out Norco, Shalene. I think you will like it. I already talked about art. Oh, music. Soundtrack of Metal Hellsinger. Metal Hellsinger. If you like metal, best music. It really fun, original metal tracks. Really great. Best acting. We should have shouted out Mario and Rabbids. The Rabbids talk now, you guys. They can act.
What?
They do in the new Mario and Rabbids game, Sparks of Hope. They talk.
That's so weird.
It ruins their whole thing. Pretty ridiculous. Let's see. Best RPG, I do want to say Midnight Suns. It's another tactics game, but it looks really neat. I haven't played it yet and can't wait to do so. And then best multiplayer co-op, Grounded. Grounded came out of early access this year, so I didn't put it because it's not new. But boy, is it fun. It's a really neat take on a survival game. It has a story now. It's a really great time. And then for surprises and also just my general honorable mentions, I feel like we should mention like Disney Dreamlight Valley and Pentiment. Dreamlight Valley has no right to be as fun as it is for a cozy game. It's really fun. It's really fun. And Pentiment, I I haven't been able to get into it. Every time I've tried
Really
to play,
wanna
I've
play
fallen
that.
asleep. But I know it's good. If I can just like break on through, if I can get through that first hour and a half that I've gotten stuck on every time, I think it's going to be an excellent game. So honorable mention for all those.
Rick, what
Great.
about you? What's your honorable mention?
Sniper Elite 5.
Hmm.
You get to kill Nazis, so that's a great time.
Perfect.
They did bullet ballistics well, but like it just, I don't think it had the staying power it needed.
And Shalene, what's your nomination?
Tetroid 3 is my honorable
Ooh.
mention. I
Oh.
spent a lot of time playing Tetroid 3.
Okay, so honorable mentions is sort of like the end is not is near category. We have 3 categories left. The first of which is most anticipated, and I'll start Starfield. Although I don't think it exists yet. I don't think that it's actually a real project. But Starfield is my most anticipated game. What about you, Shalene?
The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. I was very obsessed with Breath of the Wild, and I cannot wait for Tears of the Kingdom.
Question: Did you beat Breath?
Don't put your hand up. Zoom's gonna thank
I
you.
did.
Did
I
didn't know
did,
you
yeah.
beat Breath of the Wild.
I've put like 300 hours into Breath of the Wild.
I know, but I didn't know. You beat
Wow.
I did beat it. Yeah, I
That's
talked
awesome.
about it on this podcast when you were still on it.
it. I forget.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But yeah, I did beat it.
Good.
And what about you, Rick? What's your... Oh, wait. We've already gone through your... No, we haven't.
No, we
Most
haven't.
anticipated. Most anticipated.
Starfield.
Starfield. Okay. And Jess?
Starfield.
Wow. Okay.
Wow.
It's
I
gonna
mean,
be so
without a
bad.
doubt, it's the game of the decade. It's the game of the generation. It's
Well, I
gonna,
mean,
it's coming sooner than you think. It's going to be amazing. I cannot wait. I was born to play this game. Well,
Wow.
maybe that's
Don't-
overstating it.
No,
Yeah.
don't set yourself up for disappointment, Jess.
I'm gonna set myself up. Look, I stuck with 76 through the worst times. How bad can it be, Rick?
bad.
I'm cautiously optimistic.
Just the fact that you said how bad can it be makes me incredibly nervous, Jess.
Mhm.
No, but it's
Like-
not. Oh gosh, there's so much good about this game. You know, yeah. Loving it.
I know.
I want
it's
it to be
everything
good.
I wanted in a game, and I want it to be good, which is why I'm not letting myself get too excited. I'm anticipating, but
Yeah, anticipation.
I can't
Okay.
get too excited because it's gonna be horrible for the first like year.
Yeah. It's going to be
No.
broken.
No, maybe, but no.
I mean,
It's Bethesda.
we all
It's gonna
know,
have
we all
food
know
posing.
that we beta test for the first year of a Bethesda release. We all know that.
Mhm.
Except I have a feeling it's going to be Fallout 4 broken. I don't think it's going to be,
Oh,
New Vegas
yeah,
or,
I
agree
even
with that,
Skyrim
yeah.
broken.
I agree
I
with
think
that.
it's going to be within reason, mostly functional, a lot of good stuff. We'll
I agree
see.
with that.
Well, okay. Second last category, dishonorable mentions. These are games that I don't really know. We're on the fence about games that disappointed us, maybe. Who wants to start?
I didn't play anything bad this year.
Wow, look at you living the life, living your best life over there. Okay. Jess, dishonorable mention.
I didn't play anything that bad this year either, but I'm going to give it to Diablo Immortal. I feel like it deserves still a bit of a dishonorable mention, just for the fact that it really did introduce a lot of microtransactions into an illustrious franchise, and yeah, just not a great look in a lot of ways with Immortal.
I was gonna say Scorn, but I forgot about that whole Immortal fiasco, and I'm gonna say Immortal now. I forgot about that. That was bad.
It was bad.
I don't know if I necessarily have a category for dishonorable mentions games that came out this year.
Well, you don't have to.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna abstain. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, final category. Game
This is
of
it.
the year. This is it, you guys. This is it.
Digging.
Who wants to? Why don't we let our guest go first? Jess.
Okay, you guys. Well, I'm going to bookend this show, okay? First category, last category. My game of the year, 2022, is Citizen Sleeper.
Wow.
It is a fantastic game. I would have put it on Best Indie, but there were other choices and I needed to get a mention. But yeah, this is my game of the year. I really think you should play it. It's still installed on my Xbox because I played it. I played the DLC. There's more DLC coming. I refuse to uninstall because I'm going to play it. And I want the constant reminder when I log in. I 100%ed it. It's got multiple endings. It is not that long, but it is so good. And what's funny is it kind of kicked me into mind of, how much I enjoy a solid narrative game. You know what I mean? Because I like adventures, but this is kind of like Disco Elysium, or Norco, like I mentioned, like those kind of narrative RPGs that you manage to have gameplay and a story and tactics all together. It was delightful. Highly recommend.
Wonderful.
Okay. Shalene, what about you?
This was the year of Elden Ring.
Mhm.
I feel like no other game can be game of the year in a year in which Elden Ring released.
That's totally fair too. It may not be my pick, but yes.
Okay. And Rick?
This year belonged to Elden Ring.
Yeah, same thing. I mean, it just was such a heavy hitter in almost every department. I mean, Elden Ring.
And finally, my nomination for Game of the Year is Stray. Yeah, I really think that it's the underdog.
You mean under Cat?
Yeah. I think the reason why I chose Stray and not Elden Ring, because I had that second on the list, is because Stray appeals to a wide audience. Mm-hmm. Not only is it in a breathtakingly open world setting with integrated minigames and this unusually attractive ambiance that is the Tokyo street market, but they've tried something completely new and innovative with a very likable and relatable protagonist. So that is my choice. Mm-hmm.
Also a great choice.
But by majority rule, Elden Ring wins Game of the Year for the Stack Awards. Congratulations, Elden Ring. And that pretty much concludes the show for this evening. I would like to remind everybody that we're sponsored by Oak and Crow Coffee. If you head on over to oakandcrow.com, you can pick up some coffee. We Just Love Games blend. $2 from every bag goes to the Children's Miracle Network. And also, you can email us at info@wejustlovegames.com, or you can send us a message in Discord. We love to hear your mail. On the next episode of GameStack next Friday, we will be talking about some people's stories and mail that we've gotten into our email inbox, which is now piling up. You can find us on Twitter at We Just Love Games, Shalene at Shalene L, Jess at Sleep is 4T, myself at Vendertron N, and Rick, I don't think you're on Twitter anymore, are you?
No.
Yeah. We're also on Facebook, facebook.com/We Just Love Games, facebook.com/groups/We Just Love Games, and we record the show live every Friday, 6:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time on twitch.tv/We Just Love Games. We're on YouTube, iTunes, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, any other platform you can think of. And Rick, it sounded like you were going to say something there.
I just remember I meant to say this during the show and not the ending, but the Game of the Year 2023 has come out today.
Oh.
It was released on Switch, on the Nintendo 64 emulator, and GoldenEye
Yes.
is out on, I also think, Game Pass.
I wonder if it holds up.
I doubt it. I did also. It just clicked in my head that one of the dishonorable mentions I should have said was Callisto Protocol.
Big time.
Everyone,
Big time.
Yeah, that game was like, it's the new and it just.
It was not.
No, so I just forgot that. We need to
Excellent.
mention that for the
Excellent.
sadness that it was.
Well, we do want to thank you for joining us once again for our first show of 2023. Don't forget, next Friday, you will be able to join us right here once again. Shalene and I will be bringing you some new content to kick the year off. But we want to once again thank you, Jess, for joining us this evening as a guest. It's always wonderful having you on the show, and we look forward to having you back as always.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And Rick, I'm really glad you were able to hang out for this one.
Yeah.
Hopefully, once all the moving settles down and everything, I'll be able to come back on more because it's super close to work now.
Well, and
That would be
you also
great.
have
I
this
would
like
love that.
stoic vibe about you.
Yeah,
I can tell that you're like in a happier place now.
I definitely am.
Yeah, I can feel that. Well, thank you all for listening. Good night. And there's no outro. There's just no outro. That's it, folks. Go home now. Okay, goodbye.